we have very pertinent information for you that we know that will be of benefit. And as usual, I'm Rosetta. This is Donisha. And Donisha will tell you some more about us.
So we are DRD Natural Health, and this will be our third session of Health Talk. And you can follow us on Facebook if you're on Facebook. You can find us at DRD Natural Health. And as we mentioned last week, we uploaded the last two videos to our YouTube channel. And our YouTube channel is DRD Natural Health. So if you missed the last two sessions, or if you just want a refresher, you can go there and watch the videos. Just reminding everyone to please mute your microphones.
Hold on a minute, hold on. Hello?
Please mute your microphone. Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, so like I said, you can follow us on Facebook, you can follow us on YouTube, and you can contact us. I'll actually put our contact information in the chat box right now if you'd like to reach out to us. Let me do that right now. Okay, so if you need to contact us, there's our contact number. And just so you know, this is being recorded and we will be putting it up on YouTube and Facebook sometime this evening or tomorrow.
Okay, so we, I know sometimes we miss the sessions or, you know, for whatever reason. So you can also get the links and send it to friends and relatives. This is a good way of getting the information to them. What we have found out, sometimes it's very difficult for us to talk to our own family members, but then you can send them the link so that they can look at the videos.
Yeah.
And we will start with our disclaimer. So as usual, the information that we are providing is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, prescribe, treat, cure, or replace the recommendation of your healthcare professional.
Exactly.
All right? And this evening, last week, we told you that today we would be talking again about I can't live without you. But I know Donisha was gonna turn to me and say, can't live without me. So I discussed it with her and we agreed, okay, we will change it. So this week we're talking about I can live without you.
Yeah.
I can live without you. So what is it that we can live without that we will be talking about this week?
Should we let them guess and put some things in the chat?
We could do that, of course. I know some persons might not be able to do that, but for those who are not able to put anything in the chat, then you can, yeah, it might take too long. So if you're able to, you can put the information in the chat. What do you think we're talking about this week? I can live without you. And remember, it doesn't matter what the topic is, we are talking health.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see what your...
Oh, sugar. Someone said sugar.
Okay, very good guess.
Yeah, that is.
Very good guess. Anyone else?
I don't think anyone else would want to put anything after you said very good. Oh, my. Okay.
All right.
I guess no one else is gonna say anything. So am I the one that will be sharing what we're talking about? So this evening, we're going to be talking about type 2 diabetes. So the Gales put sugar in the chat box. So that
was... sugar is a part of this. So that's why it was a very, very good guess, because when you think diabetes, you know, you usually think something sweet, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at it from a different angle this evening, because as a family, we've been impacted with, or family members have been affected by diabetes. And my grandmother had diabetes, and my mother-in-law, who, you know, I tell everybody, I had the best mother-in-law in the whole wide world.
Okay.
She was such a sweet person. So I'll give a little background of both of them. They both had diabetes, and it was, you know, it impacted our family, and more so for me, my children, because they have...
I can say my part. So you can tell how it impacted you.
Okay, all right. I'll do that when I get there. But growing up, I grew up with my grandmother, and she had this little jar, this little thing. I remember we used it in the science class.
Like a beaker? A flask?
A little thing.
Anyway. A test tube.
A test tube, that's right. And she would use it every now and again to test her urine. And one of the things that I can remember vividly that she would do, or a few things, she would take, we have what we now call, well, at least some people call it cayenne pepper, but they were very small, like maybe half of an inch, very small peppers. And she would swallow one of that like every morning. They were very small peppers, but they were hot peppers. Back then we called them bird pepper, because the birds would eat them. But you know, knowing what I know now, I'm not so sure. Maybe that was just mind over matter, because then the fact that it's not chewed, then I think
she just swallowed it whole.
She just swallowed it whole, right? So that was one thing she did. Another thing that she did, the banana plant, the very, very young banana, when that came out of the shoot, she would get those, boil it, and drink that as a tea.
Just drink the water.
For her diabetes, just drink the water. So I remember those two things very, very clearly, because she did that. She worked around the house. We walked everywhere. Yeah. So she did a lot of walking. We did farming. So she was very active, but she had on some extra blessings. Yes. I've always known her to be, to have extra blessings on her, right? So that may have been one of the things. In addition to that, she had a major, major stressful family situation, an ongoing family situation that she was dealing with. And I believe that is what was driving her stress a whole lot. But apart from that, I didn't know much then about anything. Yeah. And now, years after that, I now have a mother-in-law, and she could eat a lot, you know. She was slim. She was very skinny, unlike my grandmother. But my mother-in-law was always thirsty. She was always thirsty. She would put her water in the freezer, and when it forms ice on the top, she would take it out, make a little hole in the top of it, and that's the water she would drink. She was always thirsty. She had vision problems. And she didn't have stress. She didn't have much of a stressful situation to deal with. But she also, you know, at times I would notice that she's walking and her slipper would, one foot would fall off, and she would continue walking. She didn't know.
She didn't realize
it was gone. So, you know, knowing what I know now, it's like you say you could beat yourself, because by the time she was diagnosed, it was way
yeah.
too late. Needless to say, my grandmother, on the other hand, so I know way back then that diabetes, persons can overcome it, because my grandmother did overcome diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
She did. But with my mother-in-law, that's a different situation, because when I think now of all her symptoms, I just play it over in my head, and I realized that it was right there.
Yeah, it was
right
obvious.
there. It was so obvious. It's like you should not miss it.
Mm-hmm.
But then we didn't know.
Yeah. Well, I'll share my side. My part isn't very long, because I think I was about 10 when my grandma died.
Yeah.
And I really do miss her. A lot of times I ask mommy, do you think, we'll see her again in heaven? And I think the thing that really affected me was so I was in school in Jamaica, and we had this exam that you take after high school called Common Entrance. And I took the exam, and I got accepted into the same school that my grandma went to. But by the time that happened, she wasn't there. She was, she had passed away. And I often thought about, how happy she would have been to know that, I graduated high school and I went to the same school that she went to. So I think about that a lot. Mm-hmm. And I really do miss having her in my life. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember much about my great grandmother, so your grandmother. Yeah. But I can see how these diseases affect your family. Mm-hmm. And there's a void when these people are gone. And so if we can, do simple things to prevent these diseases, then I feel like, that's what we need to focus on.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the things I remember about my mother-in-law, which we called her Ma, is that when she found out that she was diabetic, when she did the blood test, it was in the high 20s. And she made a drastic change to her health. Uh-huh. She loves to cook and she loves to eat. She didn't change her protein, which was mainly animal protein, but and she changed all the high glycemic foods. Yeah. She dropped all of those. She ate a lot of chocho and squash and green banana. She didn't do the regular, rice and yam and all those things that she used to do before. So I know that if she had gotten the help
earlier,
then it would have been a much different situation with her. And I remember also that her doctor was surprised. In 3 weeks, I believe, when she went to do her blood test again, she had gone all the way down to a 7-8, somewhere there, moving all the way from 20.
Yeah, I can't believe you said she was at 20.
She was walking out of her shoes.
Yeah, when she walked out of her
shoes, she didn't realize. By the time she found out, she had lost sensation in the bottom of her, at the bottom of her feet.
So let's talk about the symptoms then.
Okay.
Of diabetes, because the ones that most people know about, the excess thirst, the hunger, the excess urination, but those signs, you typically see those when diabetes has progressed a lot, right? But there's some early warning signs too, right? So what are some of those?
Well, the excess thirst. Did you just mention that?
Just mentioned
that. You did.
But you can tell about
the vision problem. But I did mention the fact that she was drinking the very cold water. She was always hungry. Yeah. It seemed as though she was always hungry because she was always eating. We would go out for dinner and, she would take something. She has her plate and she would take from everybody else's plate. And, she was, so there's that, there is the excess excessive urination that persons would experience when they have diabetes as well. And of course, for some persons, it's the weight loss. And there's a change in the skin as well.
Sometimes you can see like the black marks on the back of the neck. You can also experience fatigue, tingling, change in sensation, especially in the feet. You can also have itchy skin. And so now is a good time to actually talk about what's happening. So when we eat normally, right, the glucose is in the blood, but it needs to get into your cells. And for it to get into the cells, it needs insulin, right? But when you have type 2 diabetes, the insulin isn't working properly. So the blood isn't getting into the cells. So like, that's one of the reasons why they're so hungry.
Yeah.
Because their cells aren't being fed. And then when you have all this glucose in your blood, that throws off the balance and the concentration of the blood. So then you're always thirsty. And then when you drink all this water, then you have to urinate a lot. So that's how all those symptoms work together. But when you have a lot of sugar in your blood as well, it can damage those really small blood vessels. So that's why you have changes in vision. It affects your kidneys. And again, the changes in sensation in the feet. So we talked about, how it has impacted our family. And, sharing this information is so important because we don't want it to impact other people's families.
Yeah.
And if you are, dealing with something like this, there is hope. You don't have to live with diabetes. So you talked about, grandma doing some things right. She made the necessary changes.
Yeah.
Right.
She made some of the necessary changes.
Yes.
Yeah. But there are others that she could have. There are other things that she could have done that she didn't. And I remember one of the things too is that she wasn't only, both of them actually, they weren't only diabetics, but they were also hypertensive. So they both had more than one conditions dealing with at the same time.
Yeah.
And in Ma's case, one day she got very, very angry. And, that's probably a condition that we will look at another time. But she got very angry because of something that her husband did.
Yeah.
And he did it because he is suffering from a medical condition that caused him to, he had dementia at the time. So he's not aware of what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I remember I was at work and she called me and she was so upset because she couldn't believe that, he had done this thing. And that very night, she took sick. She had, her blood pressure went up. So the stress, again, we need to, as best as possible, get rid of stress or manage stress properly.
Because we can't get rid of it.
Yeah, manage your stress properly. And with the stress that she went through that day, that night, she went into a coma that night, went to the hospital. And to be honest, it was such a terrible loss for the family because she went so quickly. She went to the hospital early in the morning and I had to go to work. And by the time I took lunch. And by the time I went to the hospital lunchtime, that the nurse told me that she had passed.
So they weren't
And
even there.
I was not even there. It was such a shock to the family. And the reason why we're talking about it is because we want to help persons who are suffering from these conditions, and also for them to know that there is hope. There is hope. You don't have to live with the condition. You don't have to suffer alone. There is a way out. So, and when it impacts one member in the family, everyone in the family
Is
is
affected.
affected. So
Yeah.
those are things that we need to bear in mind.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some risk factors, right? Things that we need to look out for. So here are some risk factors of, getting diabetes. People that are over 45 years of age. If you have a family history. So in our case, we have a family history, right, but we know that genetics loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. And so what we're talking about this evening is lifestyle change, or what we're gonna talk about are the lifestyle changes that we can make to prevent and stop the progression of diabetes. Another thing is being overweight. Yes. Right? And you mentioned that your grandmother, she had extra blessings. Another one is a sedentary lifestyle. So we know, well, we'll get into that later. Now, there are some groups of people that are at risk or at higher risk for developing diabetes. Yeah. So these are Asians, African Americans, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? And again, genetics loads the gun, but we're going to talk about lifestyle. Another risk factor is hypertension. And you mentioned that grandma, both of them had hypertension, right? So that should be another topic too, about how to deal with that. Another one is if there's a history of gestational diabetes or delivering a baby that's over 9 pounds, that's another risk factor. If you're
What's gestational diabetes?
So diabetes that you get when you're pregnant. Yeah. If you have low HDL, so low good cholesterol, and if your triglycerides are too high, that's another risk factor. And then stress. Stress is a big one. Stress, like, it promotes all disease, right? And so that's probably going to be another topic, right? How to manage and deal with stress. So let's get into some of the ways that we can manage, control, deal with diabetes. So do you want to start with the first one?
As I mentioned, my grandmother, we lived in the country, so we were far from everything, and we didn't have transportation, so we walked everywhere. So going to church, we walked like maybe half an hour, 45 minutes.
Wow.
And
wait. What kind of shoes were you wearing?
Well, that's another story, because we had our walking shoes, and then we took our shoes to church, and when we got to church, then we put it on. So we walked in sneakers, and then we changed our shoes when we got to church. So she did a lot of walking. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, she was a school teacher. She had very long days, and it's very long days with children making noise all the time. Yeah. So, and noise, it drives hypertension too, right? And she had full day of school, and then evening classes, and then she would go home. So, and she didn't exercise. She did no form of exercise. As a matter of fact, she walked so slow. She reminds me of somebody I know.
I wonder who that is.
But so, there you go.
But I do exercise.
She didn't do any form of exercise. So one of our encouragement is exercise.
Yes.
So important. It is so important that we encourage persons to walk 1 hour every day. And when you're walking, walk with a fruit, a whole fruit in your hand. So walk with an apple. Because if you were to walk 1 hour, the studies have shown that 1 hour of continuous walking will reduce, or is equivalent to 20 units of insulin.
And I'll share why that is. So when you exercise, so if you think of the cell, and the glucose has to get into the cell, but it needs insulin, right? The insulin needs to like open the door so the glucose can go in. Exercise actually opens the door
to the cell.
So even if you're not making enough insulin, or if your cells are not sensitive to insulin, just by exercising and moving, that will open the door for the glucose to come in.
So that's one of the very, I mean, it's so easy to do. If it's too cold, like for those of us here in North America and we cannot walk outside, then you can walk inside. And we you know, for some persons, we do have some videos that we encourage them to use for inside walking. So walking is very important. It is very important that if you're diabetic and you're going for a walk and you're going for 1 hour, that you do not go alone. Walk with someone, and it's best always to walk with an apple. And you want a whole fruit, and you want to ensure that if something happens, you can eat it right away. That will bring the blood sugar up, right? So that's one of the things that you want to do. What you can do as well, you go half an hour in one direction, and then you turn around and do the other half an hour in the other direction. Exercise.
Oh no, continue.
Exercise helps to prevent diabetes as well, or control diabetes. And Proof Positive, in the book Proof Positive by Neil Nedley, he said that lack of exercise causes 1/3 of the deaths in America. Wow. So we want to ensure that we are exercising. And after we eat, now we want to do a digestive walk, which is not a strenuous exercise. It's just a leisure walk. 10 to 15 minutes, and you're walking and you're deep breathing at the same time, and that helps with proper digestion. Not only that, but it helps with the spike in the blood sugar. You know, so that's one way that that we can work on the getting the blood sugar down.
And then for the exercise, ideally we want you to go for an hour. But if you're just starting out and you're like really like 1 hour is too much, you can start slow. You can do half an hour, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. We just want you to start moving, right? Start somewhere and you can work your way up to that.
And also you can confirm with your doctor as well about the exercise before you start any exercise. However, walking, I mean, you walk everywhere. So if you're just walking, then that should be fine.
But still, you know, speak with your doctor.
Yes. As I mentioned before, stress is a killer. And I know that we have family problems. You know, in my mother-in-law's case, it was a long-standing problem that was in her family that was just stressing her, and that stress caused her, as far as I know, two strokes. She had 2 strokes because of her hypertension. And you know, God was very great. God has been grateful to her, because she did not die from either of the stroke or even from the hypertension. But stress, we need to know learn how to manage stress, and also learn how to live in the moment and to depend on the Lord and to leave everything to him.
One thing about stress too, so when we're stressed, it actually increases cortisol. That's our stress hormone that's made in our adrenal glands that sit on top of our kidneys. And cortisol is called a glucocorticoid. And the gluco part refers to glucose, which is sugar. So when you're stressed, it actually increases the amount of sugar that's in your blood. This is like your stored sugar now is coming out into your blood. Why would that happen? It's like if you're being chased by a bear, your cells need glucose. So your liver, you need the energy and you need it fast. So that's released into your blood so it can go to all the cells so that you can run away from this bear, right? But if you're stressed at work, you're stressed at home, you're stressed at church, your friends, you're always stressed, then this will increase the amount of glucose that's in your blood. and can lead to
Yeah.
the diabetes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we will be looking at stress at a later date. Okay. So one of the major problems that many people will have when you talk to them about lifestyle changes and diabetes is their food.
Don't touch my plate.
Don't touch my plate. But in addition to that, if they will allow you to touch their plate, then they will say, well, what am I supposed to eat? It's as though you have taken everything away from them. And, I heard someone said, you make all the changes that you need to make right now. And when you have conquered your condition, then you can have a party. Not that you're going to have a party and go right back to where you're coming from, but everything is only for a time. And when you have made the necessary changes, then you can slowly introduce the things that you love that you had to eliminate in the first place. Right?
But they still have to be healthy things.
Only healthy things you're going to put back. As a matter of fact, by the time you get rid of all the bad stuff and you have gotten to love the good stuff, then you don't want to go back to the bad stuff, right? Yes. Okay, so some of the things that you would want to remove, tell us some of those things that persons would want to remove.
Well, you definitely want to remove, those high sugar, high processed foods.
Such as?
Such as, the donuts, a lot of cakes, cookies. All these processed high sugar foods are not good if you have, blood sugar dysregulation, if you have diabetes. We want to remove unhealthy fats, and this is sort of in line with what we talked about last week. So if you were not here last week, after this, you can go and check out our videos on YouTube, DRD Natural Health. And you can watch our video from last week about
I can't live
without you, right?
Food is at the end of it, so it's food that we're talking about.
So these are some of the things that we want to remove, right?
Yes.
And some fruits, I know some people say you can still eat fruits. Some people say, I'm talking about the really sweet fruits now. Of course, apples are good because they still have fiber.
Yes.
Right? So things with a lot of fiber, things that are high in good proteins, and we're talking mainly plant-based proteins, these things will regulate your blood sugar levels and allow the glucose to be released slowly so that you don't get that spike in your blood sugar.
Right.
So while we're eliminating those things, we also want to focus on the things we want to eat. So we want to eat our high fiber foods. We want to have our healthy fats, those good proteins, and the legumes, right? They have a lot of fiber in them.
Yes.
Right?
And they want to remove the high glycemic foods.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Okay, so what are some of those foods that we love to have that are high in sugar?
So we're talking about a lot of our white products. So white flour, white rice,
white pasta.
Yeah, anything white, and because it's very refined, so it doesn't have the whole grain and the fiber in there to allow the slow release of the sugar, right?
Yes, and some other things that the islanders love to eat are like yam and dasheen and badu and those things as well. You want to eliminate those
for a time. Yeah.
Yes, and you want to go on things that are not that will not spike your blood sugar, like even some squash, they're so sweet, but like things like chocho, that's not as sweet, and it doesn't have a lot of carbs in it.
Yeah.
So those things are good for us to consume.
And there's also a chart, well, not a chart. There are different charts online that have low glycemic index foods, which includes fruits. So some low glycemic fruits would be like your berries, your apples. So all the berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, your apples, your pears, And all your vegetables are fine because
All
those
the
have a
greens.
lot of
Yeah.
those have a lot of fiber. Please mute your microphones. Thank you. And then our plant-based proteins, you know, those have the protein and they also have the fiber in them.
Yeah.
And then you can also have your healthy fats at the end of the meal. So like your handful of nuts, those also slow the release of the sugar.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just a quote here, the same Dr. Nedley, he said that a diet that moves away from animal products can dramatically help to decrease your risk of diabetes. And he also mentioned the benefits of a vegetarian diet on many diseases, including diabetes as well.
Yeah.
So know of a fact that what we eat will affect our lifestyle.
Yeah.
All right. So now we want to encourage persons as well to have lots of pure air. A lot of pure air. It's very important for the cells, again, that we are getting pure, fresh air. And we're doing this on a daily basis. And then it also helps, you know, when you inhale, when you're doing deep inhalation, it helps with the stress as well.
Yeah.
It helps to calm you down and allows you to be able to think clearer so that you can make the right decisions too.
Another thing about the fresh air, it actually stimulates what's called your parasympathetic nervous system. So this is the part of your nervous system that is all about rest and digest, right? So if you're activating this system through your deep breathing, then you're lowering the amount of stress that you have. And we mentioned earlier that stress can contribute or trigger your diabetes. So that's just one of the ways that pure air can help to calm us and to keep us in a relaxed state so that we don't develop some of these diseases.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we look at water. Water is very important, not only for persons who are diabetic, but for everybody. Because again, all the cells need water.
Yeah.
You know, they do need it, and we have to know how to drink it and to drink it properly so that the water is not just bouncing all over the place and not going inside the cells, which is where we really need the water to be. So the water will help to dilute the blood, the sugar that's in the blood. And therefore each person can, based on their weight, they can do the calculation to know how much water they need to drink per day.
The other thing about the water too is if you're eating, you know, a full meal with the right proportions and you're drinking your water at the correct times, then you won't need to eat so many times throughout the day.
Right.
And then that will ensure that your blood sugar levels are stable throughout the day.
Yeah. Okay. And sunlight. Sunlight is very important. Again, I want you to sing that song for the I want you to sing that song. Now, we have, as you're listening, you'll notice that we're mentioning some things which you will hear over and over again as we look at different medical conditions, because these are the true remedies.
Yeah.
And we wanted, Donisha wanted to memorize it. She wanted to remember it in the order that it's in. So she put a tune to it. So she'll sing it for you. I might help her.
I was not prepared. It's just a little song. So there's a book called Ministry of Healing, and it talks about the true remedies. And I wanted to remember it in the order that it's written in this book. So I prayed and the Lord gave me this tune, so I will share it with you. So it goes like this. Pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power, These are the true remedies.
Okay, so those are the remedies that we are talking about because they are true remedies, true remedies.
Sorry. The other thing is that these things are simple
affordable.
And they're available to everyone. So you don't have to think about, oh, I have to spend a lot of money to make the changes. Like exercise, you could just go outside. If it's too cold, you can, do it inside.
And do it inside.
Water, we all drink water. Yeah. Fresh air, you just inhale and inhale and exhale, right? So we really want to make sure that everything we're suggesting is affordable and available for anyone anywhere in the world. That's really important.
Exactly. So this is, of course, Sunshine, which is the one we're looking at.
Yeah,
it's available to all of us.
Yeah,
but those of us here in North America, we are, in the winter months, we don't get as much sunlight as we should. So persons are encouraged to supplement during that time with vitamin D, and the correct levels of vitamin D are between 70 to 100 nanograms per liter. But we encourage persons to get tested.
Yes.
It's best that you get tested so that you know where your levels are.
Yeah.
And then you can
supplement
what amount of supplement to take after you know what your levels are.
Yeah, so if you do want to get tested, speak to your doctor and they'll be able to arrange that for you.
Yeah, and in the first session there was someone online who mentioned that she got tested
for free.
Yeah, so I know it's something that we have to pay for, but it can be done for free as well. Okay.
So there's a question in the chat. How are we to drink our water for maximum absorption? Would you like to share?
Okay. All right. So Donisha mentioned drinking our water at the correct time. So that's the first thing. You want to ensure that you're drinking it at the correct time. When you wake up in the mornings, you want to drink your water warm, with a warm glass of water with at least a half of the juice of half a lemon. And when you do that, the warm water is going to help your colon to expand, and of course you will be able to have that first bowel movement, which is what you want to encourage.
Yeah.
But after that, you want to sip your water. So that first water that you're drinking, you can't drink it down, that first glass of water, because you're drinking it so that it is going to open the bowel, and you don't want to sip that one.
Yeah.
You want to drink that one down. It opens up your bowel. But during the day, after your meal, an hour and a half to 2 hours, you're going to sip your water a little at a time for the duration of time until you are eating again. So I mentioned when you just throw the water down and it's splashing all over the place, if you just gulp the water down, the cells will not be able to absorb the water, and that's where you want the water to go, into the cell. And if we were to only look at the work of a cell, it will blow your mind.
Yeah.
So they really need water. So sipping the water is the best thing to do so that it can benefit your body better.
But what about before you eat?
Before you eat, you're gonna stop half an hour before. For some persons, it could even be 20 minutes or so, but let's work with half an hour for now, that you stop half an hour before your meal.
Yeah.
And you want to do that so that your digestive enzymes and your hydrochloric acid, all of that is built up and is strong for digestion of your meal. All right. Okay. Oh, someone liked your song.
Praise the Lord.
And someone is asking why the apple. So and Donisha mentioned why we would encourage you to walk with an apple. It's because it's not one of those that will spike the blood sugar. It has lots of fiber in it, so it will help you if you need to take it. And when we say if you need to take it, that means you're walking, but suddenly you feel
faint and dizzy.
You're dizzy, you just don't feel right. Then we ask you to stop, to eat the apple, and to go back home, which is why we're asking you to walk with someone else. If you can. If you can't, then start slowly, but walk with your apple. Okay.
Someone, can you kindly type that in the chat? Okay, so I can type that and you can continue.
What were they? Let me see.
No, I'm gonna type it. You can continue.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're looking now at the herbs. There are some herbs that you can use, and there are a number of herbs that we can use, but I will only mention one. And the reason is, we don't know your situation, we don't know your condition, and we wouldn't want to mention a bunch of herbs and then persons go and start taking all these herbs, and there are other health problems that we don't know about. So, but one that we know that just about everyone will have in their kitchen and everyone will use, and it's very good for us overall, even without having a medical condition, is garlic. Garlic is very good for hypertension. It's good for hypertension too, but for diabetes. But if you are diabetic and you have there's a comorbidity going on. When we say comorbidity, we talked about hypertension and diabetes and high cholesterol. These are problems that persons would have together, or even some form of heart condition. And if you're on blood thinners, you have to be careful with the garlic, right? And another thing with the garlic is that we're not encouraging you to have it raw. We would prefer if you at least lightly steam it or pour some hot water over it, because it can cause problems in your stomach. All right, it can lead to stomach issues. We wouldn't want that.
No.
All right.
Okay, so I think there's some more questions. So I typed the water information in the chat. How do you? Well, hello, my mom has been having lupus for the past 20 years. Can you give me a short intro of how the disease affects the body? Okay, so thank you for your question, but we really want to focus on the topic tonight. So what we can do is, if you can put your information in the chat, and you can send us an email. I'll put our email.
Put our information, yeah.
Oh yeah. Don't put your information. I'll put our email in the chat, and you can send us an email. That's for Moses.
Yeah.
This is for Moses's question.
Okay.
Or anyone else, if you want to contact us, there's our email address. How do you treat neuropathy in the feet due to diabetes?
Okay.
So with neuropathy, I mean, I don't want to get too much into it because I don't know too much about it, but neuropathy, that's a consequence of diabetes, right? There's too much sugar and it's damaging the blood vessel, the nerves in the feet, right? So you lose sensation in the feet. And so whatever you do, you have to be very careful because you don't want to worsen the condition, but you also have to be gentle, and you want to ensure that you want to ensure that you know the person's, what do I want to say? Like their pain threshold, right? So if they have no sensation at all, you have to be very careful. And that's not something that I feel comfortable with just sharing. Without knowing, you don't know the person, you don't know their pain threshold. So what I can suggest, Sister Pat, is you can send us an email as well, so that we can ask more specific questions about the problem.
Yeah. One of the things though that I know will help in and it will not affect anyone, you know, if they have other concerns, is that you want to get the circulation going back in the feet, right?
Yeah, that's her second question.
So that to treat the poor circulation in the feet when you have diabetes, the cayenne pepper, right? You can get a paper towel, and on the paper towel you can just sprinkle the cayenne, but it's gonna fall off, right? So you want to put something on it to hold the cayenne, which like is basically some olive oil or something on the paper, and then you sprinkle the cayenne on it. And if the situation is bad, then the person might not feel anything for a day or two, or even 3 or 4, depending on how bad it is. But over time, the circulation, they will start feeling circulation in the bottom of the feet again. Yeah. So the cayenne pepper is good for that.
But still be careful, right? Especially if they have a little sensation, I would say. If they have no sensation, I would be careful.
Yeah. It needs supervision.
Yeah.
Yes.
We only have 8 more minutes. Do we have any other questions while we wrap up? I think we got all the questions. Yes.
Okay.
Any more last minute questions before we wrap up? We just want to thank you all again for coming and spending this time with us.
Did we have a question for this week? So for those who are new, we would usually have questions. What we would do is to offer 2 questions, and then we offer a 15-minute free consultation to the person who answers the question correctly.
I have a question.
So I
have a question.
Yeah, you can go
ahead. When we're talking about the risk factors for diabetes, I mentioned 4 groups, 4 ethnic groups. If you can name 2 of those ethnic groups that I mentioned, then you can, what are they getting? A 15-minute consultation.
Yeah, free consultation.
A free 15-minute consultation. So the question is, name 2 of the 4 ethnic groups that are at high risk for developing diabetes. Okay. Sister Patricia is our winner this evening.
Okay.
Should I?
Husu?
Black and South Asian.
Okay. All right. And
should I ask
Michelle,
another question?
Michelle. Yes, I was thinking if you can name that song that Donisha did.
Name what?
If you can name 2 of the true.
That's so easy.
Oh yeah. Name 2 of the, she she's a student, right?
No, I like easy exams, but I mean
2 of the true remedies that were mentioned in the song or that we discussed that you can use for your diabetes. 2 of the true remedies.
It's so easy, Dave.
It's so easy.
No one wants to type it in.
2 of the true remedies that we mentioned that you can use to help with your diabetes.
Exercise and diet.
You frightened me. I was looking in the chat. Is that Sister Dorothy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Congratulations. Right. You're our second winner.
Okay.
Good job, Mom.
Yeah.
That's so
that's
nice.
Michelle's mom. Okay. It's good to know.
Okay.
Well, we thank you all so much for joining us this evening. And we're asking Moses to contact us via the email or by telephone, as the information was placed there. And we are also doing, we have the free consultations that we're offering, but we're also doing full consultations as well if persons are interested, or if you have a family member who is interested. And some of the other things that we do, we're unable to do right now because we're in lockdown. But you know, as time goes by, as things change, then we can tell you about some of the other things that we do. Yeah. But thank you so much for being with us this evening. And I will close with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your blessings. Thank you, Lord, for having been with us and for the discussion that we've had, and for the listeners. And we just ask, oh Father, that the information was beneficial to someone. Thank you again, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.